Hello Facebook, hello YouTube, I'm back again. I wasn't going to do a video today, but I thought, what the hell. It's actually the first loo holiday. A loo holiday doesn't mean it's a day when you don't go to the toilet. It means it's in place of LIEU. In place of, because the Christmas and Boxing Day this year were on the weekend. So they have 2 extra holidays the following week to make up for the fact that those 2 days are on the weekend. There's another one next week for the 9th for the New Year holiday, because New Year's Day is a Saturday. Oh yeah, lots of holidays, not many working weeks, working weekdays. So anyway, I did work today, but I only had 2 jobs to do, so I've got time on my hands. I've just looked at the weather forecast for the coming week, and it is awful. This is the downside of living in Britain, unfortunately, especially in the south of England. Winter is, you get really bad weather. It's going to be windy, it's going to be wet, it's going to be mild. It's exactly the kind of winter weather I can't stand. Snow and ice, as you know, I love, but wet, windy weather, nah, I hate it. But it's going to be like that till at least the New Year, so boo-hoo. Anyway, I did say I might make this film actually I might make this video in the last video. I'd say I'd do a Hospital Porter Reacts video about the worst films. You know, I've done the best ones, now about the worst. Right, well, I decided to do that today. And then I'm going to knock it on the head and do something else. But, yeah, there are some pretty bad films around. This film, for example, there's films I don't like, which most other people do. And, for example, I had almost confessed the other day that I didn't like Planet of the Apes. Planet of the Apes, of course, is highly acclaimed. It's got lots of fans, and a lot of people think it's really, really cool. A really cool sci-fi movie. I think it's rubbish. It's a silly idea, and it's badly executed. The suspense factor is -0. It's pretty obvious, actually, almost from the beginning, that the spaceship has gone round in a circle, and they've simply come back to Earth 2,000 years later. It's just very obvious that's the case. So when when I saw the Statue of Liberty, I didn't even bat an eyelid. It was obvious it's going to be something like that. It's a useless film. As for the bloody remake, God, that is atrocious. But we're not going to bring those films up on this particular routine, because even though those films are bad, they're not the worst. There's some really awful ones out there. Now, as you know, I have a prejudice against certain types of films. Certain types of films tend to be bad. So, for example, remakes. I've said several times that I don't like remakes, the exception being King Kong, as I explained in the last video. Most films that cast rock stars in one-off acting roles, those tend to be pretty bad. Most films adapted from computer games are bad, with exceptions such as the Resident Evil series, which I've talked about on my zombie videos. Most films adapted from comics, with exceptions again, like the first Spider-Man film, that was very good. And things like that, those tend to be bad, with exceptions. But we're not talking about types of films. We're talking about actual individual movies in this particular series. And if you ask me what's the worst film I've ever seen, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind at all. It's Paper Mask. Okay, Paper Mask is a film you've probably never heard of. It's actually a film, well, you will if you watch this channel regularly, but by St Theo's videos, but you've probably never heard of this film if you're not a regular viewer. The reason you haven't heard about it is because virtually nobody has. It's a very, very fringe, low-budget B-movie, and I'll tell you what, obscurity has never been more richly deserved. It stars Paul McGann as the main character, who is not, I wouldn't say hero, he's an anti-hero. He is a very unpleasant individual. He's very deceitful, he's very false, he's very cowardly, and he's very stupid, and he is a hospital porter who is a caricature of everything hospital porters are supposed to be in the media. I actually wrote an article once on the HPWA blog called Hospital Porters in the Media, and it detailed a series of them. I talked about this on my St Theo's videos. This came up. I was looking for any fictional portrayal of hospital porters which is in any way respectful. And I had to conclude the only example was my own novel Evansland, which, as you know, is an audiobook on this channel. I'm working on a text version of it. That's the only one I knew was in existence. I mean, since then, of course, the comedy series Porters has come out, and that is another example. But really, the way we are portrayed is really bad. It's really terrible. And it reaches its absolute nadir with Paper Mask. It really does. It's an adaptation of a book, actually, which I have gone and bought. Yes, goodness me, I need to get laid. I'm going to review it at some time, or say have a rant about it at some point. So, but the book it's based on, I have. It's about a lowly hospital porter who's, as I say, he's a caricature of everything we're supposed to be. He's clearly from you can tell by the way he speaks. He's intelligent. He probably comes from a middle class family, but he walks around with his head bowed in shame. He has an obsessive inferiority complex. You know, he had a girlfriend who dumps him for a doctor, that sort of thing. I'm utterly sick and tired of that kind of portrayal. I really am. And of course, he gets out of it by lying and creating a false persona for himself. He can't escape this. He can't escape this dreadful inferiority complex he has. So he impersonates a doctor. He impersonates a doctor who's died, his girlfriend's partner, when he gets killed in a car crash. I am sick and tired of hospital porters being portrayed in this way. That we are all basically frustrated doctors and nurses, all of us. We walk around with our heads bowed, our shoulders slumped, wallowing in low self-esteem. I mean, do I need to keep repeating this? I am very, very proud to have been able to call myself a hospital porter. I didn't join the hospital portering service because I wanted to be a doctor or nurse, really, but I hadn't got what it takes. I joined the hospital portering service because I wanted to be a porter. To be a porter is to be an essential member of a life-saving team, and it's something we should feel very proud of. We should wear it with pride on our sleeves, and we should stop. Well, I should say we should stop. These people who make these bloody movies and TV series, will you please stop portraying us in a different way? I hate it when they do that. I really do. It's just so incredibly patronising that I hardly have words to describe it. And Paper Mask is the absolute worst example. The absolute worst example of this. It's worse than Jimmy in Casualty. It's worse than Michael Elphick in The Elephant Man. I mean, it's like, that's the only break, isn't it? You could either be one of these incredibly self-conscious, imbecilic, really, really self-haters, or you can be a corrupt crook like Michael Elphick's character in The Elephant Man. That seems to be your only choice. I just hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Yeah, so the Paper Mask, what happens is he disguises himself as a doctor, and he has to continually cover up for the fact, firstly, he doesn't know he's not a doctor, he doesn't know the first thing about medicine, he ends up killing a couple of patients. And secondly, his past starts to catch up with him. And I won't... Oh, is it worth spoiling it? I mean, it's such an awful film. I don't feel any guilt, really, because he gets away with it in the end. He gets away with it. If you're a hospital porter and you've been affected by the issues raised in this film Paper Mask, please contact me, because you're not alone. You're not alone. You're not the only one who stuck your finger down your throat when you watch this. I mean, surely I'm not the only one who feels this way, who watches this shite and says, I don't like the fact that my profession is being portrayed in this way, as of people who feel inferior and can only, their only escape from this is to pretend to be something they're not. Let's move on. Oh, another really bad film, one I really dislike, is Independence Day. Yes, Independence Day is probably the best-known alien invasion movie. I mean, there are alien invasion movies of all kinds. I mean, the stories go back to War of the Worlds in the late 19th century. But when movies started coming along and the adaptations were made, they varied enormously in intellectual content and in technical creativity. Now, I must say on the technical side, Independence Day is quite good. Its special effects are excellent. It's very well put together, and I think that the film essentially was really launched and driven by that alone, before the filmmakers understood that it's, in the end of the day, it's a movie, not an art gallery. It has to tell a story, and a good film, it has the primarily purpose of a film is to have a good story. It has to have a good story with interesting characters, a great script, great plot devices, good acting. That's what it's about. And if you have those things, then you actually don't need fancy special effects. I mean, Blake 7 comes to mind. It was famous for its very homespun special effects. Remember the cardboard walls that used to wobble? But it was fantastic. It was really well done. Independence Day is the opposite. It has a multi-million-dollar budget special effects, pyrotechnics, CGI of the most extremely high-quality kind. But the story is rubbish. The characters are cardboard cutouts who the scriptwriter just makes them mouth complete drivel. A lot of it is very, very cliched. A lot of it is very predictable. A lot of it is extremely cringy. It's cringy. It's embarrassing. It's a very, very bad, very badly scripted film indeed. The actors don't really seem to have their heart in it. Will Smith is probably the most energetic of them all. But even he's way below the quality he showed in films like Ali. You know, I think he's doing his best, but he's not very much. I mean, Randy Quaid's characters, again, he's sort of like a funny guy, you know, he's kind of a humorous guy, but his humor, again, all the characters, including him, even he's probably the least cliche, but they're all very, very cliche indeed. He goes, up, yours! And then, he remember when he crashes his plane into he's on a suicide mission, so he does a kamikaze attack against the flying saucer, which strangely enough completely disintegrates the moment this small jet fighter hits it. This continent-sized space ship is blown apart by a little jet fighter crashing into it. Yeah, and then someone in the control center turns to his son and says, "That was a very brave thing your father did there, you know." And he goes, I know. And, you know, no sadness or anything. And the president's speech, dearie me, double facepalm. Oh. And of course, the message of the film is that there are evil aliens out there from which the world needs to be defended. And the only way it can defend itself is to come together as one. We need this. We need a one world government to protect the earth from the evil aliens. We need to do away with all democratic processes and civil rights and create a unity of humanity to protect ourselves from the evil aliens. I mean, the film was made in 1996, and you see most of it, of course, is centered on the good old US of A, which comes to save the world. But there are a few scenes from other countries, and one of them has you assume that what's going on in America is going on in other countries. So even though this is a very Americana-centric film, it's a good word, that it's still pretty much it's still obviously a global thing. You see two jet fighters taking off at the same time on a runway in formation in one scene. One of them has on an Israeli flag and the other an Iraqi flag. Now, in 1996, those countries were bitter enemies. And they were on the brink of war. In fact, they did shoot at each other in the early 90s. So it's essentially, what they've done is they've put their differences aside to protect the planet. Wasn't it Ronald Reagan who said, "I think how quickly our worldly differences would be put to one side if we were facing an alien threat from beyond the Earth." So that's the message this film's giving out. The aliens themselves are really stupid. I mean, the special effects is pretty good, but the actual production design is very poor. The aliens are these kind of like tentacle-headed oinks. They're kind of like they're like sort of like a bargain basement Cthulhu. Very badly concocted. They probably thought it up over, on one evening meeting or something. Let's just give them a tentacle here and a tentacle there. Give them something that Will Smith can grab hold onto when he's beating them up, you know. Oh yeah, and of course, Independence Day Resurgence was a little bit more interesting. I've reviewed. I've actually done a separate video reviewing that, which I won't talk about because that's actually slightly better. Although, that's not really saying much, is it? Okay, the next really bad film I want to review is, you'll gather I'm not a Roland Emmerich fan. It's 2012, We Were Warned. Yes, this came out actually in 2009, just 3 years before the big one. And it tried to build on the old 2012 phenomenon that was very big at the time. I remember, of course, you'll remember the videos I made about it. This was the fifth highest grossing film of 2009, which either indicates my movie tastes are completely different to everyone else, or it was just hyped up very much. And of course, like Independence Day, 2012 was hype. Came with an enormously, very, 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 very well-funded marketing campaign. It was really put in your face. I remember with the merchandise for Independence Day was coming out long before the film. Same with 2012. I went actually to the cinema to watch a different film during the time this film was coming out, and the staff at the cinema were wearing 2012 T-shirts, which has obviously been paid for and bought by the marketing company that was promoting the film. So it was very hyped. Independence Day was very hyped as well, and. I mean, I wonder. I mean, I certainly felt very disappointed when I watched Independence Day, when you consider all the accolades that had been heaped on it, and the fact that it was so promoted. And I really, so when 2012 turned out to be absolute crap, I wasn't really surprised. It has absolutely nothing to do with the Mayan calendar for a start. It's all pseudoscience. They claim that the Mayans discovered that there would be a crustal displacement on the 21st of December 2012. And it turns out that's going to happen. Yeah, and these cardboard cutout characters are wandering around, again, very shallow, with awful lines. They don't really know what they're not really, any real thought has been put into it. And it turns out that the elite of the world already know this, and they prepared some arks, these big ships, these armoured ships, to hide in while the rest of the world drowns and everyone goes to pot. They go into these arks, and they to be safe, they go out to sea, and these are special armoured ships that won't be harmed by the tsunamis and things like that. And they all the rich and famous go in there. The Queen goes in there with her corgis and things like that. And basically, the story is about some ordinary cardboard cutouts who are trying to find out what's going on. And yeah, I mentioned this actually in the last video because Danny Glover was the president. Yeah. By some amazing coincidence, when the great tsunamis happen, the aircraft carrier John F. Kennedy is tossed inland towards Washington D.C. in a mega tsunami. It lands on the White House, and just before it lands, Danny Glover's character, he looks up. He's as stoic as anything, being the great U.S. president. Obviously based on Barack Obama. I doubt if Obama would be, but Obama would probably be on the bloody ark. But he stayed as his post in the White House. He looks up and he sees the aircraft carrier USS John F. Kennedy crashing down on the White House, and his last words are, "Welcome home, Jack." Oh, that's probably the best line in the film, actually. There's one character I do like, because he's a little bit like me. He's this sort of conspiracy radio broadcaster, and he's just really enjoying himself enormously. That's the only character I actually like. The only character with any real depth to it. Utter trash. Totally and utter trash. And there's these other families, there's this Russian sort of oligarch type person, and he's got this younger woman as a wife, and they've got kids, and the wife's knocking off the pilot, and it's all kind of shit like that. Oh, what a load of bollocks. Absolutely appalling, really. And as far as the 2012 phenomenon goes, it has minus 60 to do with anything to do with the 2012 phenomenon. Absolutely nothing. I think I made this point when I was doing my 2012 videos. That this film, the foundational assumption with the film is pseudoscientific garbage. It's totally total and utter trash, and all kinds of other synonyms to do with trash. Okay, let's move on. The next really shitty film is a film I've reviewed before, and I think I was I was far too kind to it for some reason. It's Get Out. Okay, Get Out. This is surely has to be the most overrated film in history. It really does. And what's annoying about it? What's annoying about this film is it's similar to The Handmaid's Tale. I don't know if you read my review on HPANWO Voice of The Handmaid's Tale. I only watched the first bloody episode, and that's all I wanted to see. But this has been the critics have fawned over this like nobody's business. It was produced on quite a low budget by an almost unknown team, and it's like they not only are they very bad filmmakers, but what's really nasty about this and what's really cynical is they seem to be acutely aware of their own lack of talent. They probably got together and they came up with this idea. The idea for the plot, which is actually not a bad idea for a plot. The idea that there's a community of rural people, in rural middle class people who are kidnapping inner city sort of working class people to use in various ways. I mean, that's not a bad idea. That's quite Lovecraftian. It's quite cool. It has been used in other. It is the basis for some other films, which are actually much better than this. But what's annoying about it is they're very lazy. I mean, it says they're very lazy filmmakers. It actually says on the Wikipedia page the entire film was shot in just 23 days. That's a very, very fast production schedule indeed. Probably because they just didn't give a damn. They just didn't give a shit because they know they can't make a good film. But what they did, look, what they probably did was they sat down and they thought, what are we going to do? We can't make a good film. So we're going to have to make a bad film. But what can we do to make a bad film, yet introduce some conceptual element that means no distributor will dare to turn us down, and no critic will dare say a bad thing about it? I know. And of course, the answer is obvious, and it's exactly the same decision that was made by so many other fiction writers and filmmakers these days. We'll make it woke. We'll make it woke. Yep. So what they did was they brought in this blaxploitation plot. It follows the main character is called Chris. He's played by Daniel Kaluuya, who won an award. Of course, he had to, didn't he? Yes. This is unbelievable. Listen to this. The National Board of Review, American Film Institute, and Time magazine list it as one of the top 10 films of the year. Jordan Peele, the director, won an Academy Award for the best screenplay, which of course he wrote it as well. Best original screenplay, nomination for best picture, best director, and Daniel Kaluuya got a best actor nomination. All he does is sit there crying like that. Oh, he's not a bad actor, to be honest, but he's not a good one either. I mean, there's only one character in the entire film that I liked, and that was the TTSA guy. That's Chris's brother, who works for the TTSA. He's the only... So not TTSA. Sorry, TSA, the TSA, Travel Safety Agency. Sorry, TTSA, something different, of course. The TSA, he's the only likable or in any way creative and well-formed character in the entire story. I mean, it's awful. They've sold this entire film on the idea that, white people are evil, and they're doing evil things to non-white people, as if that is in any way. I bet they sat there and they thought, oh God, this is so edging, and we're being so edgy, man. We're being so daring. We're attacking white people. Yeah. Oh my goodness me. Does anyone else have the guts to do what we did? Attack white people? Bullshit. Attacking white people is the most cliched, safe, hackneyed, and really unimaginative thing imaginable. It's the last resort of filmmakers who are lazy and amateurish. Just like these are. I mean, I can't remember. It's unbelievable because I haven't watched the video I made about this, because I made an entire video about this film because people kept recommending I go and see it. I remember I gave it 7 out of 10 or something. I must have been crazy. I put it down to a temporary lapse of consciousness. I give it -1 out of 10 easily. It's awful. It's very violent. It's violent in the sense that it attacks you. If you're a white person, this attacks your self-esteem, and it's meant to. It's portraying your people as evil, and it's meant to pour this white guilt onto people. And it's not, like I said, there's so many other examples of this happening, and this is just it's a very extreme example, and it's a very, very bad example. I mean, the characters are bloody awful. I mean, you have like, you know, the girlfriend of Chris. What's her name? Rose. You know, when it turns out fuck the spoilers. When it turns out that she's in on the plot, it's just so stupid. I mean, it's not even like, if it was a comedy, it would be acceptable. If it was a comedy, it would be acceptable. But fuck me. It's just really shitty. It's done really, really badly. And there's that evil woman, the mother, who is played by Catherine Keener. You know, she's sitting there hypnotising him by stirring tea. I'm an evil, privileged white woman, and I've got a black man under my power. I'm going to take his brain out. You know, it's almost like witchcraft. I mean, how bloody, you know, what a terrible thing it is, and how awfully. It says a lot about society that these people, these filmmakers, are sitting around slapping each other's backs, saying, you know, counting their money, thinking, we made a shit film and we're really successful. Oh, dearie me. And then, of course, they're it looks at the theme. Oh, look, let's just see. The Guardian. Oh, God, The Guardian. I'm not even going to read. This is a paragraph here on Wikipedia. I'm not even going to bloody read what the Guardian say about this, because it's obvious what it's going to say. It's obvious what the Guardian are going to say about this film. They're going to absolutely have orgasms over it, but about how wonderful it is. It's a searing indictment. It's a wonderful social commentary. I mean, these articles can almost write themselves. I mean, I'm not even reading it now. That's just a searing indictment of modern racist white supremacist society. Oh. I think I read the Guardian review when I did the review of the film. All right, that's enough of Get Out. Get Out, Get Out. We're now going to go on to Crash. Okay, Crash. Now, there's several films called Crash, so I'm specifically talking about the 1996 film by David Cronenberg. There's another one in 2004 with the same title. It's completely different. Yeah, 1996 was a bad year for cinema, wasn't it? It really was. But this film is described as an erotic psychological thriller based on a novel by J.G. Ballard, which I've never read. And it's on one level, it's a kind of film noir about a group of sort of rather reclusive middle-class people who form some kind of secret society where the reason they come together is because they experience something called symphorophilia, which is basically sexual arousal over disasters, and in their cases, car crashes. They find car crashes extremely erotic. And the way this is portrayed, the way the film is portrayed, and the way it's described by the critics, Doug Whitticks, and that is that it's some kind of very sophisticated, very deep cultural commentary, or exposing some very, very foundational, hitherto unknown element of human nature, or something like that. No, it's a load of pseudo-intellectual shit. It's a porn movie, basically. It is a pornographic film with a small amount of storyline. There's lots of sex in it. It's very graphic as well. You see all the bits. You know, I don't think they're actually really doing it, but you see all the bits involved. So it's obviously it's very for mainstream cinema. It's very, very graphic. Although, of course, was it Bill Hicks says, guys, there are videos you can rent. You know, if I want to watch a porn movie, I'll go and watch it somewhere else, because you can get it free online, and so I hear. And you literally you don't know. There's no pretending involved. People are really doing it in those films, as I have been told. this is just all. What happens is basically this film can be summed up. There's a character who finds a group of people. They roll around in orgies, continuously shagging each other, and then they all die at the end. That's what this is about. That's what the film is about. I can't. What's annoying, in a sense, the filmmakers are doing exactly the same thing in a different way as the Get Out filmmakers. They are dressing. They're dressing this film up with a superficial gloss of acceptability for the mainstream by pretending it's something it's not. But the superficial gloss is enough to carry it through the filter into mainstream fame. Apparently, though, I'm not the only one who felt it was awful. I mean, the Rotten Tomatoes were pretty bad. Obviously the viewer rating is much less than the critic rating, and apparently at the Cannes Film Festival it was booed. The audience booed. Yay, based. You know, this is like, in fact, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Ayn Rand. I know I talk a lot about Ayn Rand. I've done a couple of videos about it. In The Fountainhead, there's a character called Lois Cook, and she's an author, and she writes gibberish, sort of postmodern rubbish. Yet, I'll just read this character analysis here. Lois Cook is the author of the novel The Gallant Gallstone. Is that The Gallant Gallstone? That's what it's called. Her writing is incomprehensible nonsense, but Ellsworth Toohey, he's the main bad guy, Ellsworth Toohey gets his lackeys to write excellent reviews of her work, and she's therefore regarded as a major new talent. Toohey makes her chair of the Council of American Writers, a group of young writers that he creates. Cook is grateful to Toohey for her success, but also aware that he is using her to further his aim of glorifying mediocrity. She knows that her work has no real merit, and so there she has no respect for Toohey. In this regard, she's unlike Peter Keating, who is unaware or willfully ignorant of the fact that Toohey is promoting his work because he knows also that Keating has no talent. Yeah. So this is someone who is aware. They know that they can't write to save their lives, and they know it, but they're just using this system to become successful. And I remember in the book, there's this guy, one of the characters is reading through the Gallant Gallstone. I think it's Peter Keating, actually. He's reading through the Gallant Gallstone. He's going, oh my God, he's like wowed by, oh wow, this is so deep and clever. I really dig this, man. I dig it, you know. And he's reading this book, and he knows it's profound and clever. You know why? Because he can't understand a single word. It's there. But you know, as you know about the Peter Boghosian's hoax. He submitted a random word a document produced by a random word generator. I just find it's slightly off topic. Let's have a look. Hang on. Oh right, yes, this is Peter Boghosian and James Lindsay. These two American academics. They published a hoax. They published a paper. It was a hoax, actually. They published a paper which was sent to postmodern journals, and the journals posted it, and they gave it good comments. It was called The Conceptual Penis as a Social Construct. I know. And they actually submitted over 20 papers to peer-reviewed journals under various sort of names, various fake names. And they sent them to various... they sent them to the Feminist Geography Journal, Gender, Place and Culture. And they all I think most of them were published, and most of them got good reviews. Most of them got interested comments from the peers. But these papers were created randomly. Boghosian and Lindsay developed a postmodern random generator, a postmodern article random generator app that just takes random concepts and just puts them all together into an article. And it really, you know what? Films like Crash are like that. This is what films... I can't speak for the book by J.G. Ballard. J.G. Ballard's written some other good books, like Empire of the Sun. That was a very good book. But Crash is like that. Crash is the cinematic equivalent of a Boghosian and Lindsay hoax paper. I can't help wondering if the filmmakers are actually doing it. I can't help wondering if the guy, David Cronenberg, and who else? And it was whoever the producer, James Spader, and the other people involved with it, the screenplay. He wrote the screenplay, Cronenberg too. They just sit around laughing their heads off, thinking, we spend one weekend producing a load of bullshit, which we then film. We put in front of the camera, and these people go and watch it, and they think it's real. They think it's really clever, and they think it. Honestly, they do. They think it's clever because they can't understand it. This is postmodern filming, or postmodern filming. That is at its best, or should I say, its most degenerate. So yeah, Crash, 1996, bloody awful film. All right, I can't think of any other bad films right now. There's others I don't like, but I dislike them less. Too little to include in this particular video. Anyway, guys, I don't know if I'll do any more of these Hospital Porter Reacts videos. If you can think of any categories you want me to cover, let me know, and I'll see what I can do. But in the meantime, I'm looking to the new year now. I'm still up for the old Soylent Green watch party. Now, I think that might have to be after, maybe in the second week of the new year, because in the first week of the new year I'm going to be very busy because I'm going to speak at SUFON on Thursday the 6th. That's the Swansea UFO Network. Oh, do get there if you can, sufon.com. I'll be doing a talk about skeptics. So come and say hello, come and meet me, buy me a beer, or I'll buy you one. Oh, probably the former would be better. And come and join the fun in Swansea. It'd be really, really good. So I'll be preparing for that, which means I won't really have time to do anything more than probably my New Year disclosure video. I think that'll probably be the only thing I do in the first week of the new year. I was thinking about doing my New Year videos. I can't really top the one I did this year. I mean, the one with Boris doing disclosure. I mean, that was so good. I'm so proud of that video. It's really made me. It broke through the algorithms. Actually, I got about a couple of thousand views. It's really good. But I'm going to do so I can't beat that. I'm not going to try and beat that. But I'm just going to do my usual new UFO disclosure video. There may be another video between now and New Year's Eve. I don't know. New Year's Eve is, of course, Friday, just at the end of the week. But probably not. I've got no plans right now, unless I think of something, or unless maybe you can think of another category I can cover in these Hospital Porter Reacts videos. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'll be back soon. Hope you had a lovely Christmas. And if I don't see you again before then, have a great New Year.